Hello, everybody. My name's Jesse Stone. To try to get me a little bit, to get my guard down and to be a little bit more comfortable, has anybody here ever been to a 12-step meeting? Alcoholics Anonymous, 12-step. Okay, so typically what we do there, which really goes in line with my message, and I actually love how they do this. So for the last 20, how old? I'm 40. 22 years I've been attending 12-step programs, whether it's Narcotics Anonymous, Alcoholics Anonymous, the LDS 12-step program. I've been in these 12-step meetings for a really long time, and I've absolutely fallen in love with them, and they've changed my life and the trajectory of my life. But in those programs, you go in and you introduce yourself to a bunch of random strangers by your first name, and then all of those strangers respond by saying, "Hey," and then they repeat your name. So let's try it. Hey, my name's Jesse. Hey, everybody. I'm an addict. And then you kind of go in and you tell your story, and it's really quite profound. But there's something about that response of people saying hello back to you in a community, in a group setting, and saying your name. It's really quite empowering. And for me, it took me out of the darkness of many, many plagues of addictions. My background, I grew up just like a normal youth in northern Utah. I grew up playing Little League sports. I was a Boy Scout. My parents were really involved in their local church. We did a lot of service. I participated in extracurricular activities in school. And by all appearances, I was just a normal kid. And the very first addiction that I struggled with was pornography. And this was 30 years ago, 32 years ago, before we had phones, before the internet. And it's hard as an individual who struggles with this, and it's hard for individuals who have loved ones who struggle with pornography as well. It's very shameful, and it's a very shameful addiction, which really festers in secrecy. And I remember I was at a church event when I was, I think, 12 years old, and I remember walking in. I walked in late, and whoever was speaking, it was a general authority of the LDS Church, and he said, "Brethren," he was just talking to men this night, and he says that it is not if your young men view pornography, it is when. And this was 25 years ago. And it's everywhere. It's on billboards, it's on our phones, it's on our TVs, social media, it's everywhere now. It's impossible to avoid. And for me, that was my first struggle with being addicted to a behavior, and it was very shameful. And that addiction led to other addictions, narcotics, other drugs and alcohol, other substances, and behaviors like that. And I grew up in a great home, awesome home, great support. The things that we didn't quite talk about, though, we weren't super open about struggles in that regard. It was very kind of commonplace to say, "Hey, how's it going?" "Oh, I'm doing great." That's like the knee-jerk response. I think it still is. I love the vulnerability comments and the setting boundaries. We need to be vulnerable with one another, and we need to express ourselves in healthy ways where we can set healthy boundaries but yet be vulnerable to receive help. And that's really the premise of my message is community and connectivity through community and groups. Because I've experienced it for the last 20-something years. I've been in rooms all over the world full of strangers who suffer with the exact same issues and struggles that I face. Not only people that face those like I face those, but their loved ones as well. And I've heard their stories, and which brings me to my message, what I want to share. Is anybody familiar with the terminology or philosophy Ubuntu? Who's heard of that? Raise your hand. Ubuntu. Let's go. Nobody. Okay, so I actually heard this years ago. So I served an LDS mission, came home, played college baseball here in southern Utah, and we were pretty successful. We won a national championship. A lot of guys on that team actually played, I've got World Series champions in the major leagues that were on that team, and we were very, very successful. One of the philosophies that we were taught was that of Ubuntu. So kind of the etymology of this, it's part of the South African language, tribal language, that of Zulu, which it's kind of hard to translate into English, but it is I am because we are. And the central focus of this South African philosophy is interconnectedness and the belief that when we lift one another as a community and we interact as a community, we become better, we grow, we become healthy, we become strong. And that really changed my perspective. That came at a time when I was really heavily involved in the 12-step program. I actually met my wife in a 12-step meeting, like 400 yards behind us here up the hill on St. James. And it has blessed my life ever since. That of community, being able to go and experience vulnerability in a room with people who share the same struggles and challenges has been an absolute gift. And it really does. Ubuntu, it emphasizes community. And we've heard it here that addiction, the opposite of addiction is, or sobriety is addiction, and it thrives in isolation. And it's not like it's not like alcoholism or a drug addiction where you like maybe go to a college football game and you're partying with like another 100 people who are just getting drunk and partying. Like pornography is not that way. You don't go to like public parties and view pornography. It's very isolating, and it's very anti-community. And so the great thing about Ubuntu and 12-step programs and community is we get to go out and we get to share with one another the challenges and struggles that we all face. I promise there's not a person on this planet that you talk to that isn't struggling with something or knows somebody who is struggling with something, specifically pornography. And this kind of goes into one of the steps. Anybody familiar with the step work or could recite step 5 maybe? What step 5 is? I should have it memorized, but I don't. I'm going to read it anyways. So step 5, and this one's tailored. This is taken from Alcoholics Anonymous. This one is more LDS kind of faith, spiritual based. But it says, admit to ourselves, to our Heavenly Father, in the name of Jesus Christ, to a proper priesthood authority, and to another person, the exact nature of our wrongs. Alcoholics Anonymous says, look, we're going to admit to ourselves and to another person the exact nature of our wrongs. We're going to find somebody that we can talk to, and we're going to tell them. We're going to say, hey, man, I struggle with pornography. Yeah, it's embarrassing. So what? I struggle. Like, we all struggle, and that's okay, and there's tremendous power in that. I will never forget the first time I went and spoke to somebody. For me, it was a church leader and kind of a stranger in a way, but somebody that I trusted. And I went and I told them everything. I bore my soul, and I admitted to them my struggles and my challenges. I'll never forget, it was in the mountains of northern Utah, and we had just received a massive snowstorm, and this was early in the morning. And I'm a young kid, I'm walking to this, the church is where I went to kind of have this conversation, and I remember walking through the snow, and nobody had plowed the roads yet, nobody had shoveled the sidewalks, and it was just a blanket of just beautiful snow. And I remember walking through that, and as I got to the building, to the entrance to the building, I remember turning around and looking, and my heart just sank. And I looked at the mess I had created, my footsteps in the snow, walking from my house to this building in this beautiful new snowstorm. Pine trees were covered. It was just gorgeous. Everything was perfect except where I had walked through the grass and the sidewalks to get to this building. And I remember thinking to myself, Jesse, you are the biggest piece of crap, man. You grow up in an incredible family. You got everything given to you. You've got talents, you've got abilities, you've got friends, loved ones, and you're struggling with this addiction that's embarrassing. It's wrong. Who are you? Like, what a piece of crap. That's exactly how I felt. And I felt that, like, man, look at you messing up this beautiful snowstorm. Like, you're a mess. That is exactly how I felt going into this conversation. Now, I can't tell you exactly what we spoke about when I went in there and I spoke with this individual, when I was admitting to this other person the exact nature of my wrongs. It was probably 20, 30 minutes. What I do remember that I will never forget is when I walked out, those tracks in the snow were gone. And it was beautiful again. And my heart and my soul and my spirit, my mind, my body, I knew it. I knew that I had done something right, that I had told somebody what was happening and that help was on the way. And that no matter what I had done, where I had been, that it was okay, that it would be all right, that there was hope. And I knew from that day forward that there was hope. And this addiction is crazy because it craves the opposite of hope and light and community, and it tries to take that away. But I remember, and kind of, we all water our thistles. Like, I'm actually a big gardener. I've done that. It is the worst, man. You just throw out a sprinkler. You pick more weeds than flowers. But I love that analogy. But there's still flowers there. Like, we all have thistles in our garden. If you don't, you're lying to yourself. And you should probably step 5 it and go admit to yourself or another person the exact nature of your wrongs. We all have thistles, I promise. I don't care if you're the mayor of a city, the most elite church. I don't care what you are. You struggle, and you struggle with something. And something that causes you a little bit of shame, causes you to cower a little bit. But I love the message of find the flowers in the thistles. And it reminds me of a quote. I have no idea where I heard it, but I still can't find the person who said it. Maybe you guys can. But the quote is, no matter what your dream in life, no matter what your goal, keep your eye upon the donut and not upon the hole. Like, yeah, part of donuts, they're missing part of it. But that's what makes them a donut. That's what's so great. Focus on the donut. Don't focus on what's not there. The more we focus on our strengths and our abilities and who we are, we can overcome it. Look at this. This is an incredible group of people. There are programs, there are people, there is community that we can come, and I don't feel ashamed. I don't feel ashamed to come here and say, hey, you know what? It was way easier for me to kick heroin than it was pornography. Like, way easier. I'm telling you, like, and I suffered. Like, if you want to, like, suffer, try heroin for like 8. I wouldn't recommend it. Just don't. But when you quit heroin, you suffer physically, mentally, spiritually, emotionally. You want to die. And that was far easier to quit 12 years of heroin addiction than it was a lifetime of pornography addiction. It's hard, but there is hope. And the way I found that was through community and through going to meetings and saying, you know what, and whether you feel comfortable enough to go to a meeting or not, that's fine. Find somebody, find a spiritual advisor, find a friend that you trust, find the Turkish, Russian, whatever, somebody who's going to gossip to you. Don't tell that person. Find, what was it?
Whoever gossips to you will gossip about you.
Don't go tell somebody who gossips. Find somebody that you can just trust and that you know in your heart, and I promise, if you strive to search within your soul for that person, you will find that person, and they will be placed in your path, I promise. And find that person and just tell them that you struggle, and it immediately takes the power away from that. We are only as sick as our secrets. Something I learned in dozens of rehabs that I went to. We are as sick as our secrets. And if you can find somebody or a community to share that with and be vulnerable, you will find healing. That puts the wound in the light, and now it doesn't control you. You're in control of it. You get to talk about it. You get to share about it. It is hard. I promise it is hard, but the result is so worth it, and it is full of hope and light. and you can overcome it, and that weakness will become a strength, I promise. It's a law of the universe. You work out weak muscles, they become strong. You start talking about this, it will become a strength. Do not hide from it. Do not shy away from it. Everybody struggles. But you can overcome that. I know that. And through community, through Ubuntu, I know that because we are, I am. I am because we are. We are helping one another. We are here. Let's work together and help one another and fight this. So.